All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Yen Tu, the president of the California Board of Accountancy. I would like to welcome everybody to the September 18, 2025 CBA meeting. The CBA welcomes and encourages public participation throughout the meeting. Members of the public have an opportunity to provide comment in person or via the WebEx platform. Instruction on how to make a public comment will be provided whenever a comment period is open. You will be allotted 5 minutes for public comment. Now, I would like to have Ms. Reed call the roll.
Yin Tu,
Here.
Christian Lotta,
Present.
Doug Aguilera,
Present.
Patricia Batchelor,
Here.
Nancy Corrigan,
Present.
Nancy Dong, present. Yanita Guzman,
Present.
Tony Lin,
Here.
Bruce Rafel,
Here.
and Joe Rosenbaum.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. And now I would like to read our mission statement for the record. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only qualified licensor practice public accountancy in accordance with the established professional standards. This mission is derived from the statutory requirement that the protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. All right, now we are, at this time, I would like to move into closed session in deliberation on petition and closed session matters. Once closed session is completed, the CBA meeting will be adjourned for the day and allow members to participate in outreach activities. The CBA, yes.
Madam President, so first we're going to conduct the petition hearing,
Yes, okay.
and then, but that's an open session, and then all of your comments regarding closed session, that's what will happen following the hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So actually, we're going to petition hearing on item number 1 on the agenda. And I would like to now move the meeting for honorary judge to preside. Please introduce yourself.
All right. Okay, so we're here in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Michael Deutschman. The matter is heard before the California Board of Accountancy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. The agency case number is SI-2026-4. The Office of Administrative Hearings case number is 2025-080175. It's September 18, 2025, 9:12 a.m. My name is ALJ Hardin Super. I work for the Office of Administrative Hearings. I'm assigned to assist the board in hearing this matter. May I have appearances, please, starting with the Attorney General's office.
Deputy Attorney General Ted Durkar, that's spelled D-R-C-A-R.
James Kosnet, K-O-S-N-E-T-T, attorney for petitioner Michael Deutschman.
Sir, I don't think your microphone is on. Try pushing the button at the bottom.
Okay, we'll try that again. James Kosnet, good morning. K-O-S-N-E-T-T, attorney for petitioner Michael Deutschman.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Deutschman, the petitioner.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Okay, and so before we begin, just, there are exhibits from both parties in Case Center, however, and that will be what I use to admit exhibits and create the official record. However, it appears, does everyone have a hard copy binder of exhibits in front of them? And by everyone, I mean the board members. Okay. Yes, I don't. Is there an extra?
Might be right over here.
Oh, well, let's see. Hi.
We share. We're good.
Okay, so the pink documents are the Attorney General's exhibits.
Your Honor, the pink documents include all the documents that CBA staff compiled from CBA's records and from what the petitioner submitted. As counsel for the people of the state of California, I didn't create any documents in that packet. Those aren't really being submitted by my office.
Well, understood. I probably did not phrase that well, but okay. But these pink documents, hard copies in front of me, are these the same 348 pages that are uploaded to Case Center?
I think so.
Yes, those documents have been uploaded to Case Center, and should be 377 pages. Does your set go to 377?
No.
Oh, let's see, I uploaded up to page 344 to Case Center, and then pages 345 to 377 is petitioner's submission, and they uploaded that to Case Center. I saw that they had already uploaded these documents to Case Center, so I didn't upload them a second time.
So in Case Center, I have 348 pages under complainant's evidence. And then I have respondent's evidence. There's 19 pages.
Yeah, and the complainant would be documents that I'm submitting to Case Center on behalf of from the board packet, and then the respondents is really the petitioner.
Correct.
So what's labeled as respondent's evidence in Case Center is from the petitioner, Michael Deutschman.
Correct.
His counsel uploaded those.
Yes, I understand that, but the pink stack of papers in front of me is all of that.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I see that. All right. Okay. Okay. As we go through the exhibits, I'd like to have a record of what, matching the pink hard copies to what is in Case Center, because Case Center will actually be the official record of the exhibits. Although I recognize that the board members don't have access to Case Center, so you have the physical copies in front of you. Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if it would make it any simpler, I accept counsel's representation that these pink are the same as the ones that have been uploaded. And if, I'm sure that if one was changed, was only to avoid duplication from ones that are from the other side. And so I would stipulate and waive going through each one individually and submit that what's in front of the folks here is fine.
Okay, well, let's tackle that when we get there. All right. So because we're here for a petition hearing, it means that petitioner has the burden to prove that he's entitled to reinstatement of his license. However, in these types of matters, I typically will have the people present their evidence first, just to lay the groundwork of the procedural history of the case, what's been submitted to the board, et cetera. So I plan on having Mr. Durker do that. And then I'll move to to petitioner's case and evidence.
No objection on whatsoever. Council can present a very, I'm sure, a better technically worded history than even I could. He's been working the case for so long, and I'm sure his statement of the case will be right along with what happened. No problem.
All right. Well, Mr. Durker, would you like to make an opening statement before we proceed to the exhibits?
Your Honor, I just wanted to state that I appear on behalf of the people of California pursuant to Business and Professions Code Section 5115 and Government Code Section 11522 on this petition for reinstatement, and that this is Mr. Deutschman's third petition for reinstatement since his license was revoked.
Okay. Mr. Cosnett, would you like to make an opening statement?
I'll just very briefly would state that I'm very proud and honored to be here for this petitioner, Michael Deutschman, who's, with the one exception for which he was disciplined and lost his license, he's had an outstanding career. He hadn't had any previous discipline, at least nothing of note that I'm familiar with. And the incident occurred almost 20 years ago, about 2 decades ago, that he was involved in, and essentially was an audit, and then papers had to be resubmitted for inspection, and they were the company that he was with, and he was responsible for this along with the owner of the company and the people who were working under them, but they updated and changed the records in a way that they failed to disclose. It kind of cleaned it up, so to speak. And this was a violation, and it was brought to full hearing, and it was resulting in a full revocation of his license. And this was a great blow to him, great blow to his life, but he did recover from it. As many lay people do, he was very occupied with some of the injustices that he perceived that occurred during the process. And no process is perfect. I'm not contending whatsoever that there is anything wrong with the process, but I'm saying for you to understand, not by way of excuse, but by way of explanation, that this was his mindset at the time. And so he persisted in making what he believed were honest arguments and corrections that served to mitigate his wrongful conduct. And he took umbrage at some of the accusations of lack of integrity and so forth, because even though he was high up in the company, he had no power. It was all at the top fellow. Now, he's come to understand that this is no excuse whatsoever for violating the rules, for not following the rules. And no matter what your position in the company is, from number one to the last person in the company, you don't violate the rules. And if you have to get up and leave, you leave. And if you're required to report it, you report it. But you do not go along with it to either save your job, or because you don't think it's going to be found out, or because you feel it's the lesser of two evils, and so forth. Now, he represented himself at another attempt to recover his license, and this body denied him, because even though they noted the passage of time, they felt that he had not taken full responsibility for his wrongdoing and wasn't ready to accept full accountability for his own actions. And since that time, he's undergone a great deal of soul searching, and he's obtained professional advice. And I've had a number of in-depth discussions with him, and I've pointed out a lot of things to him. And he himself has come to understand and appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct and his desire to move forward. And I can tell you something. He's been doing excellent work with low-income housing. He's kind of a silver fox like I am, and towards the last chapter of our careers, and he wants to end on a wonderful, positive, contributing note, as he should and as he can. And he can be of great service to the community, and he's got talent, wisdom, understanding. He has learned his lesson. It has been, as I said, I'll finish where I started. It's been about 20 years ago, and he has, and I want you to listen to him. I want you to listen and to ask him whatever questions you have. And if you have any doubt whatsoever about his sincerity, any doubt whatsoever about his acceptance, his remorse, and his acceptance of responsibility, if any concern whatsoever that he will in any way violate the law in the future, please address it. Ask him. Let him address you. Let him speak to your concern. And then, of course, you'll vote your conscience and whatever it is you feel. But please don't leave this room without articulating your doubt or your concern to him, or your question, and letting him have the opportunity to satisfy you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we proceed, I actually neglected to put the court reporter's appearance on the record. Who is our court reporter this morning?
Irene Mendoza, certified shorthand reporter, CSR number 14817.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Durker, how would you like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to provide a summary of the case.
All right, go ahead.
Michael Deutschman received his CPA certificate in California in 2007. However, his history as a licensed CPA goes back all the way to 1971 in other states. Here are the circumstances behind this board's revocation of Mr. Deutschman's CPA certificate in 2019. These facts are detailed in decisions by this board, by the PCAOB, and the SEC, which are in that thick packet that you all have. In 2007, Cabani and Company did audits for 3 public companies. Mr. Deutschman and Mr. Cabani were the only 2 partners in the firm. In 2008, the PCAOB notified Kabani and Company that it would be inspecting Kabani and Company's records for those 2007 audits of public companies. Mr. Deutschman was the concurring partner on all 3 audits. Kabani and Company found that the audit files, this is leading up to the inspection, found that these audit files had the type of problems that could result in deficiency findings by the PCAOB. Mr. Deutschman participated in a cleanup effort to eliminate deficiencies from all 3 of the audit files. Now, PCAOB auditing standard number 3 allows information to be added to the audit work papers after the fact, but only if notation is made stating the name of the person who made the changes or the additions, the date, and the reason for it. No information can be altered or deleted from the closed files. Kabani and Company and those involved at that firm in the cleanup effort did not make notations about their changes. When the PCAOB staff performed their inspection in October 2008, they were not informed that the audit files had been altered. There was an evidentiary hearing on the PCAOB's charges against Mr. Deutschman, Mr. Kabani, and another individual. And the hearing officer issued a decision in 2014, which found that all of the respondents, including Mr. Deutschman, participated in a widespread and resource-intensive effort over several weeks in 2008 to alter the documents in the audit files of all 3 issuers in an attempt to deceive PCAOB inspectors in an upcoming inspection. Mr. Deutschman and Mr. Kabani challenged the hearing officer's decision, and then the PCAOB adopted that hearing officer's decision. And that decision starts at page 309 of your materials. The PCAOB found that Mr. Deutschman had violated PCAOB Rule 3100, which requires compliance with audit standards, and Rule 4006, which requires cooperation with PCAOB inspectors. Mr. Deutschman was found to have acted with a high degree of knowledge of the wrongfulness of his actions and the actions of others. I'll point out a couple of key findings from the PCAOB decision at page 314 of your materials. It says Kabani, Deutschman, and Khan, another respondent in that matter, participated in the scheme to alter the work papers and to provide the altered work papers to the inspectors, unquote. And that was without telling them that the papers had been altered. Then at page 317 of your materials in the PCAOB decision, the PCAOB addressed the credibility of respondents, finding that they often were not credible on issues pertaining to work paper alterations, including their claims to not recall important events, inconsistencies between their testimony in an investigative hearing and at the hearing on the charges, and attempts to distance themselves from incriminating evidence. The PCAOB's decision fined Mr. Deutschman $35,000 and barred him from being associated with a public accounting firm registered with the PCAOB, which prevents him from auditing public companies. Mr. Deutschman did pay the $35,000 fine, so that has been paid. The PCAOB explained the rationale for serious discipline as follows. Quote, misconduct is especially troubling and deserving of serious sanctions, whereas here, respondents went to considerable lengths to conceal their actions and might have been successful in deceiving the board if Saeed, the whistleblower, had not reported his concerns, unquote. And that's at page 326 of your materials. A series of appeals by Mr. Deutschman and his co-defendants ensued, and that is why the 2007 misconduct that resulted in that 2014 decision didn't culminate in a CBA accusation until 2018, once it had gone through the SEC and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The CBA's case against Mr. Deutschman followed the 2018 court decision that finally and conclusively affirmed the original PCAOB determination. The CBA's accusation in 2019 alleged that Mr. Deutschman was subject to discipline because he had been disciplined by the PCAOB. That's at page 260 of your materials, that accusation. The CBA's accusation against Mr. Deutschman was based upon that PCAOB discipline. And in spite of the decision having become final, Mr. Deutschman still fought the charges before the board, and his accusation case with the CBA went to hearing. The ALJ's proposed decision after that hearing was adopted by this board, and it found that Mr. Deutschman participated in the creation of false documents given to the PCAOB inspectors. The board's decision found that Mr. Deutschman's conduct was part of an egregious scheme to deceive regulators. In other words, his actions smack of fraud conduct that disqualifies one from being a CPA. The decision also addresses the passage of time. At that point, when that case was heard, it was 11 or 12 years since the misconduct that resulted in the PCAOB discipline. But at the time of its 2019 decision, this board found that all those years were not that important for two reasons. First, Mr. Deutschman didn't provide evidence of rehabilitation or mitigation. And secondly, he did not take responsibility for his actions. He spent years appealing the PCAOB decisions and found that, and the board noted that his arguments weren't credible. Mr. Deutschman's hearing on that CBA accusation was in 2019. He petitioned the board for reconsideration. This board denied reconsideration effective September 2019. That is when Mr. Deutschman's CPA certificate was revoked. I will also note that in your materials, there is a prior SEC order, disciplinary order, that resulted from some misconduct in 2004, leading to a consent order with the SEC in 2008. That's at page 329 of your materials. What was that about? Mr. Deutschman was sanctioned for preparing and issuing a public company audit in 2004 when he was not registered with the PCAOB and he knew that registration was required. He was ordered to cease and desist from further violations, and he was censured. There was no fine in that matter. There also is a more recent but dismissed SEC case that is in your materials. This newer SEC proceeding against Mr. Deutschman involved an initial decision by the SEC in 2021, but in 2023, the SEC decided to dismiss the case, so no discipline became final or was imposed against Mr. Deutschman. The order of dismissal said that it was due to a control deficiency in separation between the enforcement and adjudicatory functions within the SEC's administrative hearing system, meaning that the way that they would hear the cases and the way that they would prosecute them was they felt that they determined that there was a conflict of interest. And as a result, they decided to dismiss, I think it was 42 cases that ran into this conflict. And one of those 42 cases was Mr. Deutschman's. This dismissal means that the SEC didn't take discipline against him, but the order says that, quote, "We take no view on the merits of enforcement's allegations and claims or any defenses." That's within that SEC order. The dismissal was not a reflection, therefore, on the weight or quality of the evidence that supported the charges, but rather it was the agency's reaction to an important, an important legal technicality. The SEC, what had the SEC alleged in this more recent action? It alleged that Mr. Deutschman was an audit partner in a firm called Anton and Chia, and that he had ignored material misstatements of fact in corporate filings. Prior to the dismissal, Mr. Deutschman disputed those allegations. Moving on to the reinstatement decision. So as I said, this is Mr. Deutschman's third petition for reinstatement. His first was heard at this board's January 2023 meeting, and his petition was denied. That's, I believe, at page 69 of your materials. That decision notes that Mr. Deutschman testified he wasn't comfortable with what happened at the Kabani firm leading up to the PCAOB inspection in 2008, that he faulted himself for not talking Mr. Kabani out of, quote, doing whatever he did, unquote, and that the CBA's revocation was a much harsher penalty than what the PCAOB had done to him. That was what Mr. Deutschman claimed. That's at page 75 of your materials. The decision noted that there's no evidence that Mr. Deutschman's misconduct back in 2007 and 2008 harmed any investors, but the misconduct was still serious because he participated in a scheme to deceive the regulators by altering files that were the subject of the PCAOB inspection. The decision noted that Mr. Deutschman continued to deny personal wrongdoing, pointing the finger of blame at Mr. Kabani. The board also denied the first petition because, and I quote, he presented minimal evidence of rehabilitation. Mr. Deutschman then took a similar position in his second petition, which was heard by this board at its May 2024 meeting. And that petition was denied. That decision is at page 60 of your materials. The board again found that Mr. Deutschman tried to minimize his misconduct and lacked accountability, claiming he didn't participate in wrongdoing, but just went along with it and turned a blind eye. That was his position still. The board found that this demonstrated a misunderstanding of his responsibility as a concurring audit partner on those 3 audits he was involved in 2007. The decision also noted that if Mr. Deutschman had said that if he was relicensed and found colleagues committing misconduct again, when questioned, he said he would not report that wrongdoing, but would just quit the firm. That's at pages 65 to 66 of your packet. Now turning to the pending petition. The petition by Mr. Deutschman begins at page 9 in your packet. His narrative answers to some of the questions are at pages 18 to 20. Mr. Deutschman says he will prevent future misconduct by never taking on such a high level of audit responsibility unless he is a partner in a firm with an equity position with proper internal controls and procedures. He would document all work on audit files as required, particularly after the fact changes. And he says he would resign from the firm if he saw a violation, if he believed that PCAOB violations were going on. At the bottom of page 19 of your packet, he says that he was never comfortable with the actions of the PCAOB or those of Mr. Kabani, but that Mr. Kabani was 100% owner of the firm, could fire him at any time, and then he denied that he knew what Mr. Kabani was doing, I guess referring to the cleanup effort. He repeatedly states that the board's decision to revoke his certificate was excessive. Now, he also submitted with his petition some evidence of more recency continuing education since his last petition. And in 2025, he has completed 49 hours of coursework. Mr. Deutschman has also submitted 2 letters of recommendation. One is an unsigned letter from a CPA who says he has known him for over 30 years and collaborated with him in presenting continuing education courses. And the other is from a client of 35 years who has been very pleased with his bookkeeping and tax work for a partnership. And then I was just handed a third reference letter, and this was from an individual that was going to testify remotely. He's in a nursing home. And I just scanned through this, and I'll let Mr. Cosnet address it. But there is the third letter of recommendation that I'm now aware of. That concludes my summary, and I'm prepared to examine Mr. Deutschman once he has testified. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And maybe now may be a good time to mark the exhibits. So the
Thank you. I agree with all of yours. I've got no.
so the
Your Honor, Mr. Cosnet and I agree to the admission of all the exhibits that have been uploaded to Case Center. I don't object to anything that he uploaded, and he's fine with what I uploaded to Case Center.
okay. All right, and I'm going to make a record of what those are, although I will note that for example, there's bait stamping on the bottom of these documents. So the first 7 pages are a memo authored by Carrie O'Connor of the Enforcement Division of the Board. Is that in Case Center?
It is, I think it's one of the later exhibits in
Oh, I see it.
complainant's evidence.
I see it. Okay. Okay. So just for the board's understanding, my office uses a website where the parties upload documents. They're viewed there, they're stored there, they're exchanged there sometimes. And that's the official record of the case. Because you all aren't logged into that and it would be cumbersome to deal with that, we also have these hard copies. The hard copies, the parties are telling me, and I will take the representation that the hard copies in this pink packet in front of you are the same as what's uploaded in Case Center, perhaps in a different order. Maybe this is only one document that's in a different order. But I'm going to go through now and mark and admit the documents that are in Case Center, which are the same as the documents you have in front of you. Is that correct, Mr. Durker?
That's agreeable, yes.
Okay, all right. So on pages A1 through A52 in Case Center is the petition for reinstatement with a letter and attachments. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 1. A53 through A55 in Case Center, the notice of hearing. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 2. A56 and 57 in Case Center is a certification of license history. Those pages are marked for identification as Exhibit 3. Pages A58 through A66 in Case Center is the 2024 board decision. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 4. A67 through 77 in Case Center are the 2023 board decision in order. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 5. Pages A78 through A289 in Case Center are documents from the SEC case involving Anton and Chia. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 6. On page 290 is a 2019 board order. That one page is marked for identification as Exhibit 7. A291 through A298 in Case Center are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 8, and that's the 2019 board decision and order. A299 through A304 in Case Center are a first amended accusation. Those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 9. Pages A305 through A324 in Case Center are collectively marked as Exhibit 10, and these are 2015 PCAOB order. Pages A325 through A332 in Case Center are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 11. This is the 2008 consent order with the SEC. Pages A333 through A339 in Case Center are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 12. It is a board memo and certification. That's the memo I referred to earlier. That's on the beginning of your packet here, the hard copy. And then on pages A340 through A348, those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit 13. It is the wall citation. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you know what, that one doesn't need, it doesn't need to be admitted into evidence yet. That's a potential cross-examination for a witness.
Oh, got it. Okay, so that won't be admitted yet, but okay. So as to Exhibits 1 through 12, Mr. Cosnet, you have no objection to the admission of any of those 12 exhibits. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Exhibits 1 through 12 are admitted. Now, in Case Center, there's also several documents uploaded by petitioner, Mr. Deutschman, which are also included in the pink packet of documents in front of you, but I'm going to go through the same process, so bear with me. On pages B1 through B3 in Case Center, those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit A. It is Mr. Deutschman's CV. Page B4 in Case Center is marked for identification as Exhibit B, and it is a letter of recommendation from Joseph First, F-E-R-S-T. Page B5 in Case Center is collectively marked, is marked for identification as Exhibit C. It is a letter from George L. Cody, C-O-D-Y. Page B6 in Case Center is marked for identification as Exhibit D. It is a certificate of completion of continuing education. Pages B7 through B10 are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit E. It is a listing of continuing education courses. Page B11 is marked for identification as Exhibit F. It's an AICPA Publications Checklist Supplement. Pages B12 and B13 are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit G. It's an AICPA publication regarding audits of finance companies. Pages B14 and 15 are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit H. It is another AICPA publication entitled Audits of Federal Government Contractors. Pages B16 and 17 are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit I. It's an AICPA publication entitled Common Interest Realty Associations. Then on pages B18 and 19, those pages are collectively marked for identification as Exhibit J. It's an AICPA publication entitled Construction Contractors. Okay. Mr. Cosnet, are those all of the documents that you uploaded to Case Center and you intend to submit as evidence in this matter?
Yes, with the addition of the character letter from James Taylor, who we thought we have available, but physically couldn't make it. And we thought we might have him available by phone or Zoom. We couldn't do it. It's a short letter signed by him, Mr. James Taylor. May it please the court, I could read it.
Well, let me hold on. So, all right. So exhibits A through J, let's deal with those first. Mr. Durker, any objection to the admission of any of those exhibits?
No.
Okay. So exhibits A through J are admitted. How many copies of the additional letter do you have?
I was just handed this. I do not have any copies for you at the moment. But of course, they can be made. we could upload it to case lines today or tomorrow. It's just a one-page letter.
Okay. Well, that one page then will eventually be on page B20 in Case Center. It's marked for identification as Exhibit K. Do you have any objection to the admission of Exhibit K, Mr. Durker?
No.
Okay, so Exhibit K is admitted. Now, in terms of publishing it to the board, do we have access to make copies? Or, well, Madam President, how would you like to deal with that? Do you have any thoughts?
Do we have the capacity to make copy of that letter in this facility? Deanna?
I could have a copy made later today or tomorrow and upload it to case line and transmit it any way the board would like.
Hold on one second.
Just this.
Okay. All right, so we're
Let's-
going to take a picture of it to create a digital version that can be printed so that the additional copies are available for the board to review. And then ultimately, I'd rather handle uploading it to Case Center today than waiting. But with that, we'll figure that part out. That's fine. Okay, so while we're handling that, okay, are there any other documents besides Exhibits A through K, Mr. Cosnet?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So how would you like to proceed, Mr. Cosnet, with your case?
I have one character witness here, Mr. Greg Wall, participate to speak very briefly, and counsel will question, and then and the board, of course. But I expect him to be on fairly quickly, so I would like to begin with him, and then I would like to have you hear from the petitioner, and that's all I will present.
Okay, all right. What's the name of your witness?
Greg Wall,
How do you spell? Well, okay. Are you here, sir? Yes.
WAHL.
Mr. Wall, why don't you come sit in the chair next to Mr. Deutschman on the corner there?
Sure.
And then see if you can turn that microphone on.
Push right in the middle. There you go. How's that?
Good. Okay. All right. So, sir, I first need to swear you in as a witness. So if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. You can lower your hand. Please state and spell your name.
My name is Gregory Wall, Gregory WAHL.
Thank you. And I'll give you some guidelines that I give all witnesses. Please testify to the best of your recollection or knowledge. If you don't know or you don't remember, that's okay. Don't try to guess. If you need a question repeated, please, you can ask for it to be repeated. And lastly, please wait for the question to finish before you start answering so the court reporter can take down what everyone says. All that makes sense?
Understood.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Cosnet.
Thank you. Mr. Wall, what is your occupation, please?
I am a CPA.
How long have you been a CPA?
Since, put me on the spot. I would think roughly around 2005.
Where is your place of business?
I currently work and reside in Irvine, California.
Where?
Irvine, California.
Thank you. Just very briefly describe, the nature of your business.
Right now, I do consulting and advisory to public and private companies and help them go public or to do an acquisition of some form. I also have a couple of small investments in technology, and I also run a small boutique audit firm focus on private companies.
How long have you known the petitioner, Michael Deutschman?
Michael and I met in 2005. So 20 years.
And what has been the nature of your interaction with him since that time?
Michael and I were employed at the same firm in 2005. Off and on, we were involved in the same industry, so we crossed paths just through working at different firms. And then Michael and I have just worked together over the years in other capacities as well, on a consulting basis.
So you've interacted with him on a professional capacity on and off since 2005.
Correct. And Michael was also an employee at Anton Chai LLP, the firm that I ran and built.
So you were also his supervisor or his employer.
Technically, yes.
And in addition, have you had social interaction with him?
Yes.
So you've had opportunity to observe him closely, both at work and outside of work.
Yes.
Please tell the board your opinion of his character.
Well, I've worked with Michael for a long time. I've seen him grow as a person. In 2005, I would say that he was still learning the public company market. He's very studious, very hardworking, and asked a lot of really good questions, and had a unique skill set and background in real estate. And so he was always someone that I looked towards for advice because of his experience. And I've always found him of the utmost highest character. Whenever the firm had training, Michael was always extremely diligent in learning from those trainings. And, you know, I've seen him exude very good professional skepticism, and in various situations where highly sensitive clients or highly complex issues, where he came to appropriate conclusions to protect the firm, protect himself, and to protect the client, and to also uphold our integrity as a CPA.
Are you aware of the circumstances which resulted in Mr. Deutschman's loss of his licensure?
I don't know all the details, to be honest. I wasn't at Kabani. I've seen some documentation on the matter, but I really don't know the intricacy of the details.
Has he discussed it with you?
Yes. Briefly, not in substantial detail.
And what was your overall take from his discussion? Has he accepted responsibility?
Yes, I believe he has.
Have you viewed his interaction with other people, both clients and coworkers?
Yes.
And what is your opinion of that?
Michael's a great person. He works with the staff and tries to help them as best they can. He gets out of the way when he needs to get out of the way. I say he's a client first type person. He loves to go meet with the client and understand their issues and to help them. And when he can't help them, he seeks the right advice from other people.
If he is given another chance, what is your professional opinion as to how he will use that to serve in a capacity as a certified public accountant? How will he serve the public and our community?
I believe Michael will uphold the standards and the integrity of the CPA profession.
Is there anything you'd like to add to what you've said that will help the board make its determination today?
I'd like to add one thing that I know Michael's dealt with later in his life. First and foremost, he is a family man. He's raised some great children. They've all become very successful, and I think that's a testament to his character. And then number two, excuse me, sorry. I know his late wife. He did everything to help her. And he stood beside her to her dying breath. And I think that demonstrates tremendous character and integrity.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor, from petitioner.
All right, Mr. Durker, do you have questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Wall, you said that in your discussions with Mr. Deutschman about the subject matter of his revocation of his discipline, that you believed he took responsibility. Can you give us any more detail? What was it that he took responsibility for, or how did he put it to you?
Well, I think his attorney kind of said what he said to me is that, you know, he just takes full responsibility for what he did. And as his attorney laid out, he would have, you know, liked to have corrected those issues at the time.
What is the name of your boutique audit firm you mentioned that you have?
It's called Wall Street Accountancy Corporation.
Has Mr. Deutschman worked for your firm?
No,
And then I believe you said that, but I want to clarify this. You said that at Anton and Chia, you were a supervisor of Mr. Deutschman there?
I was 100% owner.
What happened to that firm?
It filed for Chapter 11, then Chapter 7.
And were you a co-defendant with Mr. Deutschman in that SEC action that I summarized earlier?
Yes,
And that is the case that was dismissed.
it was dismissed, yes.
And then one last matter. In 2018, did you receive a citation from the CBA for a violation?
It appears I did, yes.
Okay. And what was that for?
It claims I was practicing without a license. I think it was between the renewal process. But I'd like to add to the record that I was also a New York CPA at the time, so technically I was not operating without a license. I may not have had my California license at that time, but I was a licensed CPA.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that. You were a licensed CPA at the time?
Yeah, technically I was licensed in New York. I've been licensed in New York since 2013.
Okay. All right. And you were working as a CPA during the period of time between late 2017 and mid 2018 when you had let your California CPA license lapse?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those are all the questions I have.
Okay, any redirect, Mr. Cosnell?
Sir, anything to add?
What's that?
Nope.
No, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, may we excuse Mr. Wall?
Thank you.
All right, sir, so well, hold on one second, Mr. Wall. Can we excuse the witness?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Wall, thank you. That concludes your testimony. You are excused and you may step down from the witness stand. Okay, yes, Mr. Durker.
We have the copies of, is it Exhibit K?
Yes.
The final exhibit. We have those available to hand out to yourself and the board members. Should we do
Okay.
that now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we got, doesn't matter. She didn't give me the order.
You got a copy?
I can do, I just want to make sure.
See if I can get an extra copy. Got one left? You got one for me?
All right, so the board members have received a hard copy of Exhibit K. Mr. Cosnet, I assume you're going to call your client next as your next witness. Is that correct?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, but before we do that, we'll take a recess. So let's take a brief recess. We'll come back at 10:20.
10, okay.
12 minutes. Yeah, as well, exactly, yeah.
Turn this off.
I don't. Okay. Okay. All right, so Mr. Cosnet, you'd like to call Mr. Deutschman, is that correct?
Thank you.
All right, so
I'd
Mr.
like to
Deutschman,
call the petitioner.
okay. So, sir, you can stay seated where you are, but is your microphone on?
It is.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. Please state and spell your name.
My name is Michael Deutschman, Michael Deutschman.
All right, thank you. And I'll give you those same guidelines I gave the prior witness. Please testify to the best of your recollection or knowledge. If you don't know or you don't remember, that's okay. Don't try to guess. If you need a question repeated, you can ask for it to be repeated. And lastly, please wait for the question to finish before you start answering so the court reporter can take down what everyone says.
Yes,
Okay,
will do.
all right, go ahead, Mr.
Understood.
Cosnet.
Okay. Where's your letter? Where's your copy? You have the original. Take it out, please.
Is your microphone on, Mr. Cosnet?
Let's see if
My
I,
microphone's on.
Oh, okay,
That was off the record.
okay. All right, go ahead.
I don't know if I have it anymore. I don't have it. That's what you have is what I got there. What?
I gave you, but turn off
Yeah, I don't have it. The original. I think I discarded it. I didn't think it would be used anymore. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to start right where we actually left off with Mr. Taylor in Exhibit K. Can you please tell us who Mr. Taylor is?
Mr. Taylor is a man I met about 20 years ago, and we became close friends. And I was very intrigued by his background. He had been a Marine fighter pilot. He had been drafted first by the Dodgers. He had been a very successful investment banker, and he'd been involved in some very high-level work with the United States government, I suppose internationally. So we became very, very close friends. We would have breakfast maybe once or twice a week and talk about business because he was very active in the investment banking field once upon a time. And we just formed a bond because he didn't seem to have much family at all. I think he had maybe one child or something, and he was all by himself. So we would meet and have breakfast, and we just became, very close friends. And then about 15 years later, I suddenly didn't hear from him. And I thought maybe he had passed or he had disappeared or something like that. And maybe about 5 or 6 months later, I got a phone call. And he's from Texas, this fellow. So I get a phone call and he says, Michael, you still there? I said, what happened to you? He said, I'm in a nursing facility. He said, I was walking down Sepulveda Boulevard and I collapsed and they picked me up and they put me in a nursing home. And I said, well, that's terrible. I said, and I started talking to him. I said, can you get out of there? Is there anything you can do? So I went to visit him and he seemed like he could actually go ahead and he could be self-sufficient somehow. What he has is MS, multiple sclerosis. So he was able to walk and he's livid, which he still is. So basically, he said, can you help me get out of here and live independently? So I said, okay. So I talked to the nursing home and everything else, and I came by, picked him up, they put his stuff in the car and whatever it was, and I took him to he didn't have an apartment to live in. I mean, he's financially just fine, but living the way he did in the military and all of this, he kind of lived by himself. And so I took him to a hotel, and he checked in, and I would go visit him from time to time, and he could still actually drive a car. So I took him to where, to get his car fixed, and his car got fixed, and he was driving, and he was starting to live sort of like a little bit of a normal life. I would bring him food sometimes. I'd go with him to dinner. I'd just keep an eye on him to make sure that he wasn't in a lot of trouble. And then little by little, MS starts to affect the person, started to take over. And if I would leave him for 2 or 3 days, I would start to notice things. We've all had people that are older, and you begin to notice what happens when they start to like lose their facilities. But MS was different because like he's still alive. His mind works fine. But what happened to him was he just, okay, briefer. Okay, sorry. Anyway, basically, eventually I couldn't care for him anymore. And he went back to a facility, but at least for a period of like 6 months or so, he had some dignity and he could take care of himself. So I wanted him to testify today. So yesterday I went to the nursing home and sat with him. He put a video on my phone, which is not admissible apparently. It's only about maybe a minute or something. And in it, he basically says that I'm the finest person he knows. He could always depend on me, and that he's aware of the fact that I lost my wife when I was very young and raised 3 children on my own. And based on the fact that I did that he thinks I'm of the highest moral character. But because I took care of him too, as I took care of my domestic partner, I took care of her for 20 years until she died. I think the first time I was here, I think I shared that with the board because I hadn't done any work for 3 years because I was taking care of her. She had a disease called PSP. So that's just who I am. I don't think, I judge people by what they do when things are really important and how they take care of their families and how to take care of their kids and what they do. So I'm sorry that I wasn't able to bring get him on WebEx, but I tried. I mean, I tried to get him on WebEx so he would be here today. And I wasn't able to do that, so I apologize for that.
Oh, no, that's fine. We have the letter.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to go back now and talk about, you have a 40-year career. We have to hit some of the highlights, and then we'll talk about what happened at Cabani and Company. But very briefly now, I want to touch on these points. You worked in New York. You were licensed in New York.
Correct.
And you worked for one of what at the time they called it, what, the Big 8 accounting firms, KPMG?
Yeah, I was hired out of, before I even graduated from college, I was hired by the Big 8 accounting firms to work. So eventually, once I graduated, I took an offer from, this is a long time ago, from what was called Pete Marwick, which is now KPMG. And that's where I learned the CPA profession I was there about 4 years, and it was the best experience professionally I've ever had.
Now, in addition, did you prepare an internal CPA review manual for them?
Yeah, one summer they asked me to put together a CPA review manual for the entire firm. So I did that.
Now, did you also serve as a technical manager with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants in New York?
I did.
And what did you do in that capacity?
Well, what I did was I put together, they needed guidance for real estate, United States GAAP. So they asked me to prepare a document that would enable smaller practitioners to be able to comply with United States GAAP and be able to issue financial statements in that regard. So that was published in 1999. And also, there are accounting and audit guides that the AICPA, at least at that time, published by industry. And each one of those guides constitutes United States GAAP in the United States. So they wanted me to update 4 of them. So what you had to do at that time was you had to painstakingly, committees would write these books. The highest people in the profession would write these books. And based upon writing these books, you would have to go ahead and read through all of the recent pronouncements and look at everything that they did and understand what, I guess, legal basis, you would say, existed for their positions and what would change. So they would update this every year. So my signature is in 4 of those things. And I did one other thing, which doesn't show up. They do something called a risk alert at the end of the year. The AICPA issues a risk alert. And it's issued to all the accounting firms so they can be on guard to understand what they need to look out for when they're auditing a company. So I was tasked with doing the risk alert for the real estate industry. So they have a board that meets of all the top partners in all the big accounting firms. And you go to that, it's a great experience. You go to that board, and when you're at that board, you listen to everything they have to say. And what they said at that time was they basically said that these real estate companies have a lot of debts, a lot of large debts that they're making. They're in the lending business, and you have to take a look at these debts because they knew this, it was amazing to me. There's going to be an economic reversal. And so from an accounting perspective, you have to go ahead and alert all the accountants to the fact that they should look at impairing, writing down the loans that show up on those financial statements. And basically, so I basically wrote that risk alert. Now, I think what basically happened after that pulled me into public accounting, public auditing work was, I think the SEC in Washington, D.C. saw this. And when I went there, I decided I wanted to do public company audit work because I hadn't really had a chance to operate on that level in the profession, which is the highest level of the profession. So I was naturally drawn there. And basically, I went to Washington, D.C. They had a position and they had about 7 or 8. I was living in New York, 7 or 8 people that were there that were competing for the job, like veterans and all of that. And they said, this is the guy we want to have. So they treated me very well. They went ahead and they gave me a bonus.
One moment.
Yeah.
Were you a senior staff accountant there?
Yes, I was a senior staff accountant at the United States Securities and Exchange Commission.
In the Division of Corporation Finances?
In the Division of Corporate Finance, yes. That is correct.
All right.
That was my position.
All right. I'm going to, rather than get into that, there's a lot I like to
Okay.
cover, and I want the board an opportunity to explore things in depth. So let me move on. Did you perform numerous peer reviews? And you don't have to go through them, just were you active in peer reviews of other accounting firms under the auspices of the AICPA?
Yes, I was. In New York, I reviewed approximately 20 accounting firms and issued an opinion as to their compliance with professional standards.
Have you taught real estate taxation to
I-
other CPAs sponsored as under the auspices of the New York State Society of CPAs?
Yes, I have. I taught a series of 5 courses in real estate taxation to other CPAs for continuing education in New York City.
Have you been active in professional organizations, both California and New York?
Yes, I have. In New York, I was on the real estate committee. I ran the real estate conference one particular year there. I believe in the profession. That's why I'm here, wanting to do it even later in my life. I think it's a wonderful profession. I think it's worthwhile. I think it deserves effort and commitment.
Okay.
So I've always been active in that.
All right.
And in California, I was, at the time of the loss of my license, I was serving on the board of the Los Angeles chapter of the California Society of CPAs. And the reason I was on that board was I was taking courses in the evening and people recommended me for the board. And I felt an obligation to do the volunteer work on that board.
All right. Now, just to touch on it, just to show the breadth of your experience, have you also prepared hundreds of tax returns of all types without any significant challenges?
Correct. I have prepared, over the past 40 years, I would say, I have prepared, I don't know, 400 tax returns. Never really had a problem in all that time with the IRS or anything like that.
Have you served as a controller for 2 public companies?
I have. I served as a controller for what is now, when I was younger, after I was no longer with KPMG, I joined the CVS Corp, which is now the CVS Corporation. When I was about 25 or 26. I was, I served as a controller of the real estate division for approximately 2 years. I also served as a controller for a company called BIDS here in California, which was a NASDAQ traded company.
Were you also an engagement partner for more than 30 public companies, including a lot of traded on major exchanges such as the New York Stock Exchange?
That is correct, without problem. Where significant amounts of capital were raised, and some of those companies still exist today. I would say the biggest one that I did was a $30 million capital raise for a public company, which was approved by the corporation, in this United States Securities and Exchange Commission Corporation Finance Department.
Now, you mentioned how you took care of your domestic partner for 3 years and really devoted yourself to her, and it didn't work during that time. Now, after she passed, and did you return to work?
Yeah, I attempted to return to work. That's when I came before this board to get my license reinstated. And, but I had success years ago developing something which still exists today in Colorado. It's a 140,000 square foot shopping center that I was taken in as the CPA, but eventually I had to do all the development work because the partners I had weren't able to finish. And I was able to do it. And it involved all the zoning, land acquisition, leasing, going before all the government boards, all the financing, everything that you could possibly do. And it was very satisfying work. So when I found myself in this position, pretty much by myself, I wanted to go back to work. And I figured what would make the greatest impact? Because when we're all dead and gone, we think about what we left that was useful in this world, right? So I figured, if I could create 50, I can't do that much because, I'm kind of late in the game. If I could create 50 or 100 units of subsidized housing for maybe homeless people or people that, can't afford a place to live, that would be a significant accomplishment. That would be something I would really want to do. So I kind of devoted, it's really challenging in this state, no question, but it's doable because it happens. Things get developed here, they really do, and projects get done. Every project, maybe there's 50 that don't get done, but I felt like I could really go ahead and do this. And one reason why I want to get this license, maybe the reason I want to get this license, is because if you really study subsidized housing and the homelessness problem, what drives investment in it are tax benefits. Well, if you're a CPA, that's what you deliver. You deliver tax benefits. For instance, if you have an opportunity zone, which is an area where you can do subsidized housing, if people invest in that and they have capital gains in the stock market, which a lot of people do right now, they don't pay those capital gains right away and they may never pay them. And that capital, which is needed to get the people off the street and put them in a place to live, goes into those projects. So it's very important. One thing that's been holding me back, with all due respect, is the fact that I don't have a CPA license, because it's a big part of doing that sometimes is not understood. Because if you can deliver those tax benefits, a lot of people are well-meaning too, but they don't want to throw money away. But if they can go ahead and they can get tax benefits, then they're liable to put their financing and their money into taking people off the street, which is where a lot of people are living right now. So basically, that's what I really want to do more than anything is 3 or 4 years from now, I want to see a building that I did that's got 50 people living in it, where they can raise their families and they can get a start in life, because they can't do anything if they don't have a place to live. They can't raise their kids. They can't send them to school.
Okay.
They start using drugs, all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
So as far as like,
It's clear, the
Yeah,
benefits,
yeah.
the benefits
Right.
are clear. What we're interested in is you.
Right.
And if you're given this opportunity,
Okay.
you've told the board what you intend to do with
Right.
it. And I want to ask you, is there any way that you're not going to be 100% in line with every rule, regulation of this board and of the laws of the Business Professions Code, and laws of this state and the nation?
I acknowledge my unprofessional conduct. I accept responsibility for that as a concurring partner. I acknowledge that that was wrong. I accept responsibility for that. And I've certainly paid a price, which
But are you going to walk the straight line?
you have to,
completely?
yes, you have to obey the rules.
You're going to do anything, or would you do anything if this board gave you a chance, would you do anything to jeopardize that chance or make them regret it?
No,
Now, I know that you push back after. We don't want to hear your arguments because they're in the record. It's all in your briefs and your attorney's briefs, and we don't want to hear your defense that you offered at the last 2 petition hearings, where you were denied. We don't need to go over those. What I want to know is what has now made you realize that regardless whether it was Kobani in charge and you were number 2 and weak or this or that, whatever the reasons, what made you realize now that you were responsible for your own actions and it was your fault? Why should this board believe you now when you come before them and you say, I am repentant, I am remorseful, and I truly do accept responsibility?
I understand that what happened was wrong. And that if you do, we've all had this in our life. If you do something wrong, maybe you don't want to accept the consequences for your actions that are not right. I understand that was wrong. So
All right.
I understand that, and
Last
that's-
question,
Right.
before I turn you over to the Deputy Attorney General and the board. Is there anything you want to tell the board?
Yeah, there is. Okay. I've devoted myself to this profession. And when I was about 3 or 4 years old, they put numbers on the board in my elementary school class. And they said, add these up and subtract them or do whatever. And I was finished like that. And I went up to the teacher and I said, how come no one else has done yet? Well, that's the gift that I got from above. And that's why I've been able to do all the things I've been able to do professionally. Because it's a God-given gift to be able to do this work the way I'm able to do it, whether it's tax returns or whether it's doing audits of public companies, or whether it's doing consulting work. It's just what I came into this world with, to do this work. So having devoted myself to this for 40 years, I know very few people that have a resume that even looks remotely like what I have, because I've taken every challenge that's been there, because I feel an obligation to work just as I do now. I think that if you have a gift and you don't use it, then that's not morally correct. You have to go ahead and do what you're capable of doing on this earth. And that's why I'm here for the third time, because I know that I have great ability in this regard. And I want to assure every member of this board that there will never be an infraction like this again, that I acknowledge the fact that as concurring partner, I had an obligation. There's no way I can diminish that, and I didn't perform it in a professional fashion. I acknowledge that. I admit to it. I acknowledge it. It will never happen again. And directly, as far as the rules of the PCOB are concerned, in the package, there are two segments. One deals with the rules of the PCOB as they apply to public company audit documentation. Now that's changed. So now it's 14 days that you have a chance to put things in a file, where when Cabani had it, it was 45 days. They have that. And also I took a recent course on the PCAOB rules from the Becker Association, which also deals with that as well. So
Becker, Becker.
Yes, sir. Which deals specifically with the rules of the PCOB. So I just want the board to know that I am sorry for what happened. I apologize for what happened. I take responsibility for what happened. I want them to know it would never happen again, and that I'm happy to answer any questions that any member of the board might have.
Thank you. Your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Deutschman, would you be able to have a viable practice as a CPA if the board reinstated your CPA certificate, but restricted you from performing attest engagements?
From what, counsel?
Attestation engagements, attest?
Well, I think that would be counterproductive, because the kind of experience, and counterproductive and against public policy, because if you look at the amount of work that I did in the public field and the backgrounds I have in the field and the performance that I had with maybe 30 or 40 public companies that I signed audit opinions for of every type, to take that experience and throw it away, I think would be against public policy. So and my answer to your question is that, I mean, AICPA writing books, United States Securities and Exchange Commission, right inside doing all the work, signing all these audit opinions. I know what it takes to sign an audit opinion of a public company. It takes 10 or 15 years to do it. It's a rare talent. I've gone to countries all around the world and done this work. You have to walk into a factory with like 1,000 people working and all this stuff around you, and you have to basically sign off that the numbers are correct. Well, how do you do that? Well, maybe you need 20 years of experience to do that. Maybe you need to work for KPMG. Maybe you need to work for the American Institute of CPAs and write the rules. Maybe you need to go to Washington, D.C. and work for the SEC. Maybe you need to work for Cabani and Company, who has all the work, which he had. Maybe you need to do all of that. And maybe when it's over, and after you signed like audit opinions for companies that maybe raised like $500 million without hardly any sort of a problem, you want to take that and throw that in a garbage can? you devote yourself to something like that and you perform well. Well, I admit this was wrong, what happened to Cabana and Company, but that doesn't change the fact that I have performed well all this time and done all this work well. It's very rare to find that. And what you see it's in public policy for me to have that license, because what you see right now is in the smaller end of the public company spectrum, there are very few firms that do this kind of work well. And the reason there are very few firms that do this kind of work well is because it's very dangerous work. It always has been. When I decided to get back into this work, I talked to these partners in these bigger firms and they said, Michael, you don't want to do this kind of work. This was like in 2000 when I'm working for the SEC. You don't want to do this kind of work. There's nothing but litigation. You get sued all the time. You're under a microscope constantly. Well, what I said, but what I said to them was, you're doing this kind of work. Why are you doing this kind of work? Well, the reason they're doing that kind of work is because they love doing it and they know they're really good at it.
Let him ask another question.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Are you still barred from being an associated person of a public accounting firm that's registered with the PCAOB?
I think that's a good question, and something I wasn't fully aware of either, because when they dealt out the sanctions against me, the sanction was for a fine of $35,000, which, as you pointed out, I paid. And they said you have 2 years. It's kind of like a 2-year timeout, and then you can come back in. And I figured, well, it's 2 years. You come back in. That's the punishment. But what I didn't understand is that I didn't understand what the punishment really was. What the punishment was, I figured, well, I have to pay $35,000 and I can't do this work for 2 years and then go back, which makes common sense. What I found out is that it doesn't work like that. When you come back, you have to petition the SEC for permission to go back and do this work. So if I was ever, as I pointed out in the documents I filed, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it. I'm 79 years old almost, I feel like I can do it. I know I can do it. But I would do the same thing I've always done. If I got offered something and I felt I could do it, well, I would do it, So to limit myself and not be able to do that, I wouldn't want to do that. But I understand clearly 100% that if I have a license and I go anywhere near a public company, which I didn't understand, that includes working inside a public company, not just doing auditing. I've been advised. I have to go before the SEC and petition them to get reinstated, even though this sanction was for 2 years, but I never went ahead and did the work after that. So that's.
Okay, you answered it?
Mr. Deutschman, if you were working on an audit again and you found that colleagues were violating rules or standards, would you just walk away, or would you take some action to try to stop them from proceeding with their violation?
What I would do is you always have to be concerned about the personalities involved so you can get things done effectively. But without question, what I would do is I would have a meeting with the people that ran the organization. Sit down with them and say, look, this stuff is going on. This is wrong. This is no good. We can't have this, period. The rules are this. We're doing this. It doesn't work. That's the first thing I would do. And if they said, okay, then I'd say, let's have a meeting. And I would pull everybody into the meeting and I would put displays and charts and say, we're doing this wrong over here. We can't operate like this. This is illegal. This is against the rules. This doesn't work, period, This is the way we have to do it. We have to do it like this,
Okay.
And then if everybody was running away and they weren't dealing with it and they weren't interested in it at all, then I leave. That's it.
Okay. Could you're stating that you take responsibility and admit wrongdoing in 2007 and 2008. But could you tell us in your own words, what is the misconduct that you committed in 2007 and 2008 that resulted in your discipline from the PCAOB and this board?
The misconduct was serving as concurring partners on files that were presented to them. That appeared to be tampered with. So if I had a suspicion or I didn't, they appeared to be tampered with, I saw things that looked a little bit off. That's what I should have done at that point in time, was gone to the owner of the company and said, this is wrong. Bring these people into a meeting. We have to straighten this out. If you have to tell the inspectors to go home for a while and come back, maybe that's what you need to do, but this is not good. And have a meeting and see if we could fix it, you know? Not run away. Running away doesn't help anything, you know? So that's what I would do, and that's what I've learned. That was the mistake that I made. I mean, the mistake that I made was when I didn't, because you look at you don't see stuff like this in my background at all. I mean, 40 years of doing tax returns, nothing. I mean, why did this happen for? I mean, you know, it happened because I allowed myself to be weak and let him do what he was, you know, what it appeared he was doing. I mean, I should have basically, not easy to do if you're an employee, you know, that can get fired in a day, but that's life, you know? I should have basically called a meeting or whatever and said, this is wrong and it's got to get fixed. I understand that now.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Do the
Pardon me,
board
Your-
members have any questions? Does any board member have a question for this witness? Well, let's,
Oh, okay.
Ms. Batchelor, go ahead.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for your testimony.
Sure.
And I just have a question about your employment status at the firm.
Right.
Now, in the documents, it says you are a partner, but you're calling yourself an employee. Would you say that you were an employee or partner? And what was your, if partner, was your relationship with the other partner? 50-50? He was managing? How did that work?
Okay, I was a partner in terms of legal responsibility, which is what I have now, but I was an employee at will, which basically means I didn't own any of the firm, and I could be fired in a day if he felt he wanted to do that. So it wasn't 50-50 at all in any real sense of the word. I just earned a reasonable salary. I didn't share in the profits. I didn't share in anything else. And with all due respect to everything else, he ran the firm as 100% owner.
I have a few more questions, if that's okay?
That's fine, go ahead.
Okay. You were the partner in charge of the assignment, the audit assignment, is that correct?
No,
So that wasn't your job. That was his job. He was running the job with the employees working up under him?
there was more than, the way it works is that there are two partners on each account. One partner is the engagement partner, and the other one is the concurring partner. It's a second partner. So I wasn't the one running it, with all due respect. He was the one running it. And based upon what he would do, I would concur with what he did.
Okay, I see. So there were the employees of the firm, staff
Right.
accountants, different staff auditors, if you
Right.
will, were actually doing the job. So you had also said that you created procedures in the past, firm procedures that you have to adhere to. So within audits, there's compliance checks. So as staff auditors perform the work in various intervals, partners such as yourself are supposed to review and sign off or tell the staff if there's some corrections that need to be done for those to be, addressed. Did the firm have procedures in place as a job went on prior to the final report being issued?
They had some, but in my opinion, they weren't strong enough to prevent something like this from happening.
Okay. And who signed off on the audit opinion?
The firm,
Okay. Under the name of the
Bonnie's-
managing partner.
who owned 100% of the firm.
And then you also said that in terms of opportunity zones that you work in right
Right.
now, I know some things about the opportunity zone. Why do you feel that a CPA license is important in order to be involved with opportunity zones?
It's critical. And the reason it's critical is because I've had a lot of experience with real estate taxation. And what happens in real estate taxation is that when there's a tax shelter, people invest in the tax shelter. And when they invest in the tax shelter, they're given certain tax benefits, which in this case would be deferral of capital gain and that sort of thing. And they assume that they're never going to have an issue or a problem with the IRS. But that's not true. Because if you go back over the last 20, 30 years, what happens is that the IRS becomes very aggressive when there's a lot of money at stake. And they come in and they challenge the tax benefits. So I myself would prepare those tax returns that would guarantee those tax benefits. And they have to be very, very carefully done. There are all sorts of issues with elections that have to be made. Whether the rules are very, very complex in real estate taxation and special allocations of items, basis for partnership items that you have to have. So basically, the way I perceive this is that if I do this, I'm the one, I don't want an accounting firm preparing a tax return because my experience has been, maybe if you had like KPMG do it, it would be good, maybe. But my experience has been that it has to be done perfectly. Perfectly. I mean, you have to follow every single IRS rule. You have to do it exactly, every regulation, every court case, because if you do something on a decent level, then it gets kicked out. So the reason I need the CPA license is I need to be able to sign the tax return and represent the partnership before the IRS, because I know there's at least a 50% chance if you do the work perfectly and there's enough money at stake, the government's going to come in and challenge it and try to get more money. It's been my experience. So I've seen, and you've seen the same thing too. If you're an accountancy board, you've seen all these clients over the years that have invested in tax shelters. They could be a doctor, they could be a dentist, and they get some deal and they're going to be in an opportunity zone and they're going to get tax benefits. Well, that doesn't guarantee they're going to get the tax benefits. The only thing that guarantees they're going to get the tax benefits is if the work is done thoroughly professionally. And I personally would not be comfortable in being involved in something like this unless that work was done right on the money. I taught real estate taxation and it was complicated and it was hard, and I went before like 30 or 40 CPAs and I taught 4 courses and I learned something. The first time I didn't do that well. I thought I knew it, but I didn't. Well, the second time I knew it. I knew what I had to do. And the third time I was even better. And the fourth time I really had it down. So I know if you go to a small firm or something, they're going to prepare like a a partnership tax return for like an opportunity zone? Well, I don't think necessary, and you're gonna invest in that? Oh, it looks good, but 3 or 4 years later, not so good. So I don't want to be involved in anything that is not going to be successful. I don't want to be in anything that isn't going to work. And the last thing in the world I want to do is do all of this work, get people a place to live, raise the capital, go before all the zoning boards, go before all the banks, go before the Board of Accountancy, and then turn this thing over to an accounting firm that professes to be experts in real estate taxation, which they're not. What they basically become is big corporations, like, with huge amounts of people in them. You go to like KPMG and you'll see hundreds of people or 1,000 people working there. I don't want someone like that to do my work. I mean, how could you look someone in the eye that invested in a deal that you had and tell them that, they're not getting their tax benefits, because you didn't do the work correctly? That's, I have a passion for this work, as you can see. I mean, and a passion for doing it right. And because people, for what it's worth, this profession doesn't get the respect I think it should get. I don't think it does, personally. But it should, because like, if an audit opinion isn't done correctly in a public company, that's not good. If the sales are wrong, which I never had a problem in, all the audit opinions I signed, not one of them was there ever a problem. with, like,
Objection,
numbers
not
or
responsive.
investment. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
All right. So
I
Ms.
have a-
Ms. Batchel, do you have?
Yeah, a couple
Additional
more,
questions?
if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Let them ask questions.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, you had stated that, you need the CPA and a test license in order to do this
Right.
work. General license does cover tax as well. So that's the question I'm asking is, do you need the attest license in order for you to be able to, if you would choose to go back and start working, maybe audits or something like that with the SEC? And if so, has the SEC or PCAOB, have you tried to petition to be back involved with them?
No, I haven't.
In order for you to need the attest license, otherwise, you can have the general license, which is the G license, in order to still do tax work. You see where I'm coming from?
I understand your question.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So when I filed a petition, what I wrote was that hopefully I'll get an unrestricted license. But what I completely understand is that I cannot do any audit of a public company or any public company work unless I petition the SEC for that, even though the restriction was for 2 years and happened over 10 years ago. If I want to do that kind of work, I have to get the permission of the SEC. It's a different, there are lots and lots, because I have this infraction with Kobani. Now, whether I ever have a chance to do that again, I have no idea, but I wouldn't want to limit myself if I had the opportunity to do it because I just want to do as much as I can.
So would the G license be satisfactory for you in order to do the opportunity zone work that you're doing right now?
Well, my opinion isn't really worth, it's important to me, but the board is what makes the decision about this. I would prefer to have an unrestricted license because if I have it, and if the opportunity presents itself, then I could petition the SEC. But right now, I have no idea. But if the board issues me a tax license or a general license, then I wouldn't be able to do that. And that opportunity would be gone. Because I'd have to come back to this board and I have to say, I'm doing this company and I have all this experience and they want me to do the work, but I can't do it. I'd have to come back here and then I'd have to go to the SEC. So it would be counterproductive. If the SEC wanted me to do it, which right now I have no idea whether they would or not, because I haven't asked for permission, and this board denied me a general license, I wouldn't be able to do it. That would be it. The opportunity would be gone. And even if the SEC wanted me to do it, which lots of times they have, actually, they used to think a lot of me at certain times. I'm sure in certain instances they still do. They should. I work there. And I know a lot of these people and I respect them. They really know what they're doing. In corporation finance, they're the best, in my opinion. But if they wanted me to do it and this board didn't give me that license, I wouldn't be able to do it. So what good would, that's my point of view.
Okay, and you are aware that enrolled agents as well as real estate attorneys are capable of handling the work that involves in opportunity zones? So have you ever considered an EA license?
What sort of a license is that? I'm sorry.
Enrolled agent.
I'm not clear on the type of
Well,
license.
an enrolled agent is also a tax professional, just like CTEC, which is under the IRS umbrella. So you have CTEC, you have enrolled agents, and you also have CPAs. So have you ever considered to be an enrolled agent under the IRS?
I wouldn't be interested in that.
You wouldn't be interested?
No.
Okay, that's all for my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Do any other board members have questions? Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, Mr. Raffle.
Mr. Deutschman, you've spoken extensively of your interest in getting your license back in order to engage in activity that you spoke of in Colorado with subsidized housing. My question is, since you've lost your license, are there other activities that you've engaged in that would lead us to come to a conclusion that you've been rehabilitated?
Well, I would just have you look toward the character that I have and what I've basically been doing for other people. Caring for people in nursing homes.
Let me be more specific. Are there other professional activities that you've engaged in since you've lost your license, other than the Colorado activity?
What I've been doing is, if you look in the package that I submitted, all the continuing education that's there, I mean, I've taken every course that I could possibly take involving the profession. It's in the package that you have, and I'm up to speed on what needs to be done professionally. I haven't stopped doing any of that. And as far as opportunity zones and doing this sort of thing, this requires a considerable amount. I've read all their documents that they have and the way they've handled the tax issues. In the package is also information about the tax issues and how they're handled. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, let me elicit some more responses. Are there service organizations or nonprofit organizations that you've been involved with in the last 5 or 6 years where you've lent your past experience that would lead us to believe that you've been rehabilitated?
Service organizations.
Rotary, Elks Club, Boys and Girls Club, or nonprofit organizations where you've lent your experience?
Well, the one thing I'll say is if people contact me, I've never been a big sort of a group kind of person that joins country clubs and joins organizations. I've never been a member of a country club or never been a member of Rotary or anything like that. But what you'll see that should make you understand that I've been rehabilitated is that the devotion that I have toward individual people and how I take care of them. I mean, there is just nothing I won't do that is the right thing to do for other people, whether it be someone in a nursing home. That to me, taking care of someone who has MS and picking him up off the floor and changing his diaper is a lot more important to me than going to a Rotary Club meeting with many people that there's nothing I could really do for them.
Okay. Sorry. Ms. Latza, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Deutschman, we've talked a lot about your restriction to practice audits for public companies and other attest services for public companies. If your license was reinstated, do you intend to perform private or audits or other attest services on private companies at this time?
I'm not really aware of any opportunities that I have, but I'll give you an example of why it would be important for me to have the ability to do that. Because after practicing if I get an opportunity to be productive, that's what I want to do. I want to be as productive as I can be. So sometimes, you think you have opportunities, you don't have them. The opportunities, I never expected to do public company audit work. All of a sudden, I wound up at the AICPA, and the SEC saw it, and they hired me. And then eventually, it just took off by itself because I was able to do it. So you never really know where the opportunity is going to come from. That's the beauty of the CPA profession, actually. It opens up all of these avenues to you that you never even knew you had, So I don't want to restrict myself because my age restricts me enough as it is. If I'm restricted even further, the fact that I could ever be productive again becomes a lot less. So I really want to work, and I love to work. So I used to do audits of private companies. I never had a problem ever with an audit of a private company. As my lawyer pointed out, I did peer reviews of other firms, 20 of them. So I knew what I was doing, and I was really good at that. And it wasn't like public company work where you need all of this infrastructure and all these people. You can open up an office in order to audit a private company, I think, well, if you know what you're doing. You can't audit a public company, in my opinion. You shouldn't even think about it. You need a lot of people to audit a public company. Well, when I was in New York, I had a lot of really nice clients that were in the real estate business, and they needed audits. You had to do their tax work, which obviously I do very well. But you also had to give them an audited financial statement for HUD because they had to get the financing from HUD and all these different things. So as a CPA, you need to sign a private company financial statement to do that. So if this board was generous enough and forgiving enough and kind enough to give me another opportunity, which I hope you guys do, you can rest assured that I won't waste it. It's like I haven't wasted anything else. I've done as much as I can in this profession. I've taught, I've done peer reviews, I've served on New York State Society, I've served in the California Society, I've done tax returns, I've done every conceivable thing that you could do because I'm really good at it, So I think that the board should rest assured that as far as private company work is concerned, there's no threat to the public for me signing a private company audit that wasn't done professionally. I could do it now. It's not hard to do. I mean, for someone that has the background that I have. Public company work's different thing. Highly regulated, highly litigious, super technical, requires 10, 15 years of experience. And even then, a lot of people can't do it. Because when it comes time to sign that audit opinion, it takes a special person to do that. So that's why I was able to be successful. What I was doing, I had talent to do that. So private company work is different. So I wouldn't want to restrict myself in any way. And I want the board to understand completely that I know what happened here was wrong, that I accept responsibility for it, that it's a new day. It's time to start anew, even though I got a few miles on me. It's time to start anew, do as much as I can. And I don't reflect any you can rest assured I don't have any kind of an issue with public trust or providing the public with a good result.
Anything further, Ms. Lutta?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rosenbaum.
Hello, Mr. Deutschman. Thank you again for appearing. I hate to delve back into the past, but I do want to. You were asked by Mr. Durkar, what exactly is it that you are admitting to when you say you take responsibility? And so I guess I don't know that I've ever been clear on what you actually, what your role or your responsibility was in this audit or even the cleanup effort. So let me just ask you, did you have any role in changing the documents or changing the dates or adding signatures during this cleanup process?
It's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. But this is the best way I can answer this question. The PCOB did an exhaustive, they litigated this thing forever.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just,
Sorry.
did you or did you not have a direct hand?
Okay.
Did you or did you not have a direct hand in changing any of the audit papers?
I didn't change anything.
When did you become aware that the audit papers were changed?
I just could see the way things were going, that there was a third person involved in this, which was this whistleblower that went to the SEC that was fighting with Kobani all the time. And what he did was, since they were fighting with each other, he went to the SEC and told them whatever he told them.
So did
Yeah,
you,
so I think it's important to understand this though, because,
Let me answer.
okay, go
did
ahead.
you understand what they were fighting about? You were the concurring partner.
I did.
You have a role in
I did.
the audit as the concurring partner.
I'm sorry.
You have a role.
I apologize for interrupting.
You have a role as a concurring
Okay,
partner.
please repeat your question.
Question is, did you know what they were fighting about? When did you become aware that there was a cleanup effort?
I can't really answer that question 17 years later.
Did you become aware that there was a cleanup effort?
Yes.
How did you become aware of that?
Well, as somebody pointed out the last hearing I was here, there was an email that came through that said, PCLB cleanup. That's what it was called.
And so you first learned about this at our last session?
Well, this third party that was there, he was dealing directly with Kobani. I wasn't dealing directly with him. So
So
Kobani.
I'm struggling to understand what your responsibility was. What did you do? What exactly are you taking responsibility for?
I'm taking responsibility as concurring partner, which is what I was basically found to be liable for. As concurring partner in presenting files to the PCAOB that were not prepared properly. That's what I'm taking responsibility for.
Okay, so that's the first thing is that you were concurring partner and you allowed the partner to sign the engagement without proper documentation.
Could you
There
repeat the
were-
question, please?
Well, there was a cleanup effort that needed to be done because the documentation was not complete, yet you signed off as the concurring partner that all the documentation was complete. So that's first issue. But the second one is really in this cleanup and cover up. And a question that I have, and I've never gotten a good answer from you, is when did you find out that there was a cleanup effort going on?
Well, there was an internal inspection, which every firm has before they do this. Which means that when the PCAOB orders come in, you can have internal inspection of the documents and review them before they come in, because you're not completely knowledgeable about the account or what happened or whatever it is. So between Kobani and this third party, Rayhad, they were basically involved in doing that sort of thing. So to say when I would understand when there was a cleanup effort coming, it's not such a clear question because the internal inspection aspect of this has nothing to do with, if someone were to come in today and ask this accountancy board how they viewed something or something like that, and they said, give us your files. Someone would have to like familiarize themselves with the files. If someone said, why did you take Deutschman's license away? Well, you'd say we had reason to do it. Someone would have to look at their files and do that sort of thing. Right?
So, Mr.
Okay,
Crosnet, oh, hold on. So, Mr. Crosnet, I know you're sitting next to your client, but he is on the witness stand, so you shouldn't be communicating with him. I see
Sorry?
you're writing notes and
Yes.
passing them to the witness, but he's
Yes,
testifying though. So-
yes, I am.
Right. But he's testifying right now.
Yes, he is.
Right. So I'm not sure what you're communicating with him during the testimony.
Yeah.
His answers should stand on their own, is my point.
Your Honor, my note says, tell him when and how you found out.
I'm not saying you're doing anything untoward. I'm saying that his job right now is to answer questions on his own. And then I'll ask if you have redirect after all the board members have asked their questions.
Your Honor, I appreciate it. I am just trying to help this board and my client, and I stand behind my note. Tell him when and how you found out.
That is exactly my question, Mr. Deutschman.
I'm right, but I'm telling you that don't communicate with him while he's trying to give an answer.
Well, he was just going all around he was
Right.
going around and around and forever, and the questioners kept repeating his question, and I'm telling him, answer it.
I understand. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rosenbaum.
Shall I repeat the question?
Just answer. Don't repeat the question. Answer it.
Okay, I'll answer it. When I looked at the files that were being presented to the PCOB, when I looked at what was being presented to them, not anything that I did, what was presented to them, they looked suspicious to me. They did. They looked suspicious. I wasn't comfortable with what I was presenting to them. They just
Okay,
did.
okay, so you presented some files to the PCAOB
Right.
that I'm going to infer that you knew that they weren't the right files, that they had been cleaned up.
Well, I was more sure of that than not, that's for sure.
So let me tell you why I'm uncomfortable with the whole situation here, and that is that that's the part that we've never gotten to, exactly what it is that you did personally to take responsibility for. And so I understand now that you knew that there had been a cleanup of the files and that you allowed the PCAOB to go ahead and inspect those files without alerting them that they had been cleaned up. So now I'm going to get to then what my concern was another question that you answered that Mr. Jakar asked. And that was a question, if you were confronted with a similar situation, what would you do? And you gave an answer about calling meetings, et cetera. But the final answer that you gave was that if it wasn't resolved, you would quit. And it wasn't that you would take action to correct the wrong, but that you would quit, which I interpret as turning a blind eye to misconduct.
That's not accurate.
Why not?
It's not accurate because you work in a firm. You're not one individual. You have like 20 people. It's like this firm here. One person doesn't go off and do whatever they want. You work in an organization, you work in a group. So can I personally go ahead and change the firm? No. I wouldn't be able to do that, just as you people here wouldn't be able to like run this place the way you want. You run this place according to the rules of the California Board and the laws of the state of California. So I don't have that kind of power to do anything like that at all. I mean, the power I would have would be to go to whoever the powers that be are, just as you would have, and say, I don't like this for whatever reasons I have. You need to change this, and we should have a meeting to do that and call the people in. I myself, as a concurring partner, I have no authority to even do that as a concurring partner. I could say I don't want to sign it as concurring or agree with it, but I don't have the authority or the power.
Well, I would
Did
like
that.
to, I would like to remind you that the reason that this actually came to the PCAOB's attention was that there was an individual that blew the whistle. So some individual can do something.
Someone who had a lot of animus for Kabani. He had tremendous animus against him. And based on all the animus that he had, if it hadn't been this, it could have been anything. It was almost like a divorce. He just had tremendous animus for Kabani. And he took his computer, got mad at him because he wasn't paying him enough for whatever reasons he had. That's really what's at the bottom of this. And he ran to Washington, D.C. with his computer to get Kabani because he hated him. He hated him. That's what started this whole thing. That's it.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Corrigan, go ahead.
Thank you. Pardon me, and thank you for being here, Mr. Deutschman. You know, during your testimony in response to questions, you mentioned the risks and the importance of public entity audits. You kind of downplayed the impact of private organization audits. And I'm wondering, do you realize there is a risk for private companies in the audit arena?
I certainly do.
And can you mention those? Can you,
I completely understand that.
you do? Okay,
100%.
okay,
I practiced forever. I saw what happened.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. For the benefit of my fellow board members, though, we have banks, bonding companies, governmental agencies, founding organizations relying on audits of privately owned companies and the shareholders of those companies relying on them as well. So that's pretty important to me too. And I understand the risk in publicly traded because individuals may not have the knowledge, the capacity to comprehend something that they're investing in. But I just want to point out there really is an important in private company audits as well. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I apologize for not being sensitive enough to that issue, because certainly if you had a large private company, the risks are plenty high. I was thinking about the work I used to do, because I used to do smaller real estate properties, but I appreciate that.
All right, Ms. Bachelor. Oh, yes, go ahead. Well, okay, go ahead, Mr. Aguilar, and then we'll go to Ms. Bachelor next.
Hi, I'm Doug Aguilar, CPA. Thanks for all of your
Yes, sir.
time and effort. I realize that you have put in a lot of time and effort over the years to come before the board, and it's noted. The last hearing that the board had were at your last petition was about a year ago in May of 2024. I wasn't here, but my understanding is that there was a finding that you had misunderstood the concurring partner or quality control partner role, and that you wouldn't report any wrongdoing, you would just quit. And those were the basis for the findings. Is that your understanding is why your petition was denied a year ago?
I don't know that that's true.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is because I would kind of expected that the lead and the presentation today would be around your understanding of the quality control role and around the idea that it's not enough just to quit.
I
But
think that's a fair statement, but let me, I appreciate your question, and I think it's educated me as I sit here before you. You've educated me. Because the right action would be, if I understood the problems were there, to consult legal counsel as to the proper action to take at that point. Not to go running by myself to before a board but because you don't know what it's, I mean, look at this board, right? So I have an attorney, very fine attorney. I would call him up and say, this stuff is going on, or I think that there's a problem here. And what should I do? I mean, legal, what's the right action to take? That's why lawyers are there, right? They're supposed to tell you what the right action to take is when you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Yeah,
That's
we
what the
can't-
big firms do, I think.
we can't be experts in everything. I understand that. Yes, that's right. I want to go to your letter, June 9th, 2025, and it's Bates stamped MDPET 018. It's about 3-page letter. And at the top of the second page, and the last sentence, you say, I feel that I have been treated very unfairly by this board. Why do you feel that way?
Okay. With all due respect to the board, which I do respect the board. Okay, the reason I felt I was treated unfairly was because the SEC, the PCOB for this matter gave me basically a 2-year suspension where I could go back and apply again. Well, they litigated this case to death, so they, after looking at every document and talking to every person and everything else, they came to the conclusion that that was the appropriate punishment for me. So they gave me 2-year suspension. But the board basically took the 2-year suspension and pulled it into a revocation, which I felt was unfair. Because certainly the PCOB, with all the resources and all the money spent on this thing, and they had their board and there were big legal fees and everything else, they ascribed what might be the appropriate punishment for me for my unprofessional conduct. I accepted that, paid the fine. And what I didn't know was if I have to go back and practice, I have to go before them, but that's okay. I understand that. I follow the rules, whatever they happen to be. The reason I felt I was treated unfairly was that that was a 2-year suspension, and it was turned into a revocation of my license of over 40 years. I felt that was over the top, completely over the top, and it really angered me. And what made it even worse was that my lawyer had negotiated an arrangement where I said, look, I won't do public work, but at least I like to work and do tax work, while all this is going on, And he said, we have a deal. He called me back. He said, we have a deal. You won't be doing public work, but you can work. And that's what happened. And then for some unknown reason, like a day or two later, they said, we're sorry we're doing it. Well, I think anybody would be upset with that. If you have a 2-year ban and you've been working for over 40 years and you have this incredible resume of doing everything, and you go before the California board, all of a sudden that becomes a permanent ban, and they tell you that you can go ahead and do tax work and then change their mind. That's why I felt I was treated unfairly.
Do you think that the revocation of your license based on the PCAOB and SEC findings in that way that you were treated different than any other licensed CPA in California?
I couldn't answer that question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Yes, Ms. Bachelor, go ahead.
I have one last question, and it's in terms of your thoughts about the whistleblower. You say that you stated that the whistleblower went to the PCAOB because they were angry. That person was angry. Anger or not, what's right and wrong is what has to be taken care of. So would you say the whistleblower was right or wrong in going to bringing these findings to the PCAOB regardless of the anger?
I say he was right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Aguilar?
Still referring to your letter in the last page of the three-page letter. You say, in addition, the board should consider compensating me in some fashion for the damages done to me. Do you still feel that way?
No,
What changed your mind?
I just think that I think it's up to me to go forward and do what I'm able to do. Which I've always done. I don't want, I'm not looking for, it doesn't matter to me, honestly, at this point in time. I would just be thankful to get my license back, to get up in the morning and earn a living the way I did for 40 years. I am thankful that I'm in good health, even though I'm almost 79 years old and I can still work. And I think it would be a terrible thing to waste your life and 40 years of working over anything. I just like to get up in the morning, be productive as I can possibly be, follow all the rules, admit that there was a mistake, take responsibility for it, and have a new day.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from any other board member? Okay. Mr. Cosnet, do you have a redirect based on any of the questions from either the board members or Mr. Durker?
No redirect. Am I permitted a closing statement?
Yes, but also Mr. Durker, any questions based upon any of the board members' questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Any further evidence or witnesses on behalf of petitioner, Mr. Cosnet?
No further evidence.
Okay, so petitioner rests. Mr. Durker, were you Exhibit 13 in case center? I don't know if there's a hard copy of it or not. Are you seeking to mark or admit that document?
I have hard copies of it. I don't need it admitted. Mr. Wall, I was able to elicit what I needed from Mr. Wall's testimony.
Okay, all right. So then exhibits 1 through 12.
And I'll withdraw 13.
Okay, are admitted. 13 is withdrawn. All right, so both parties have then rested.
And A through K has been admitted.
Yes, A through K have been admitted. Yes, correct. Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Cosnet, go ahead with your closing argument.
Should I go first? I've got the burden of proof. I should have the last word. Yes.
That's why I said, Mr. Cosnet, go ahead. Or did I say the wrong name? Okay. Yes, you have the burden of proof. You'll go.
Since I have the burden of proof, I should have the last word. So am I going to get?
Yes.
Often in court, there's a
Yes.
party that has the burden of proof goes first, the other side responds, and then the party with the burden of proof has the last word. Or is this my last word now?
It's not. Yes, as you described, you will go, you will give your closing argument. Mr. Durker will give his, and then I'll ask if you have any comments in rebuttal, given that you have the burden of proof.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So I appreciate that, and I as an attorney presenting this case, There's a lot of material, there's a lot of history. It's just one way that I would proceed here. And the way I presented this case was put all my cards on the table, have the petitioner tell you the truth, tell the truth. That's what he did today. He told you his talent, his experience, his intelligence, his abilities are really beyond dispute. The question is, does he have the integrity? Has he shown rehabilitation? If he's given the opportunity, can you trust him to do the right thing going forward? Will the public be protected? Will the public be served? Will you ever have to look at him again with anything but approval and gratification for giving him that opportunity? Why should you invest in this human being, in this CPA? I submit to you that you can trust him, that he has told the truth, that he is a changed person, that he would take this gift of a second chance and cherish it and not let anything happen to it. And your questioning was very good, and especially the hard questions about what do you take responsibility for? And he told you, and you had to ask him a couple of times. But the point is this: you're not required to be a whistleblower. It's wonderful if you can be a whistleblower, but he told the truth. He said if he saw a problem in the company, he explained to you, and he put his arms up in the air like this, and he said, I put it up on the board. I pictured myself like some kind of PowerPoint presentation. He said, this is what we're doing, and it's wrong. This is what we should be doing, and this is what we're doing. And he would make that known. And he said if they wouldn't go along with it, he'd quit. He'd walk away. And then you pointed out, sir, he said, is that enough? You just quit. Shouldn't you try to fix it? And his answer was very honest. He said, sometimes you can't just fix it. You just don't have the power as one individual. But he said, I would consult with legal counsel. And if somebody came to legal counsel, then they could be advised on what they should do, what their obligation is, what's the right thing to do. And I submit to you that he will do it. He will do the right thing. He could have cried crocodile tears and he could have made a promise to you, I'll be a whistleblower. I'll come running with all the files and the computers, and I'll come running to the enforcement authorities. So on. He could have said that, but he didn't. He said, I will consult with legal counsel. He said that he would not stand for it. He'd make it known to the leadership. He'd make it known to the membership. And if they wouldn't go along with it, he'd leave. And then he said he would go to legal counsel. I think that's honest. I think that's honest. He's not saying he wouldn't be a whistleblower. He's not promising that he would be a whistleblower. I have never seen in any board, in any license, where the promise to become a whistleblower is a criteria for relicensure. I have never seen it where the promise to become a whistleblower is the only evidence of rehabilitation. Here you have somebody who is not a repeat offender. He's not somebody who's lost his way and got off the track and broken the law and broken law, broken law. He had one serious mistake, one very serious time at that Kabani and Company. He has paid for it greatly. A great deal of time has passed. Is passage of time alone enough to give somebody a second chance? No, but it is a factor. He hasn't broken the law in the 20 years since it happened. He hasn't gone astray. And what has he done? He's taken care of people that he loves. That in itself is a world of contribution in a single life with his domestic partner, with Mr. James Taylor. He's lived a good life and he's taken all the courses to keep his mind is obviously very sharp. That shows dedication and persistence and desire to return, not to cut corners and to engage in some scheme, but to do what? To help with low-income housing. Like that was his interest, his obvious passion, and what he liked to do. So am I asking you to give him just something very restrictive and all, where you can look over his shoulder, control him, and make sure he doesn't step out of bounds? No, I think you ought to invest in this human being, this person that can really make a difference. I think you should invest in him, give him his license unrestricted, let him serve for the rest. He's 79 years old. 79 years old, but he's still sharp. He's still contributing. He's still got a lot to give. Let him do so. You will not be disappointed. You will not regret it. This is not somebody who is out here to kid you and fool you. What you saw today was what you got. You people have to judge based on your professional experience and your human understanding, the lives you've lived. You have to make an assessment of credibility just based on your own common experience. Was he telling the truth to you today? Did you see the real Michael Deutschman? I'm telling you, you did. You saw this guy. He doesn't want to ever, if he was given this opportunity, for darn sure, he's got no time to waste messing around. He's going to do the right thing. He's going to stick to the straight and narrow. If he has any question at all, he's going to come to me or someone like me and find out what to do. And he's never going to step off the straight and narrow path again. I guarantee it. Thank you.
Ms. Mendoza, are you okay, or do you need a break? Okay, all right, Mr. Durker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Board members, I think you now have all the information that you need to make a reasoned decision about whether or not to reinstate Mr. Deutschman. We're getting close to the noon hour, and I don't want to repeat the things that you've heard over the last several hours. But I would just urge you, for public protection purposes, if you do decide to reinstate Mr. Deutschman, that you impose a period of probation that would provide public protection, and that you also carefully consider whether to impose an attest restriction to the extent that you feel that that might prevent violations or the sort of misconduct that he's engaged in the past. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any comments in rebuttal, Mr. Gosnett?
No, in light of counsel's extremely professional and I might add, throughout courteous and respectful throughout this entire time that this process, which I greatly appreciate. There's no need for me to say anything further except to thank each and every one of you.
Okay. Anything else before we conclude from either party? Mr. Durker?
No.
All right, Mr. Cosnet?
No.
All right. Well, then the hearing is concluded. The open session hearing has concluded. Let's go off the record. And then the board will be in executive session or closed session. All right. Ms. Mendoza, do you need anything from the parties in terms of spellings, other information? Okay, and all right. Do you have an end time and a page estimate? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate your time. And thank you, Mr. Deutschman, for being here.
Thank you.
At this time,
Do you want her to put this on the record?
no, we're good. Yeah. So at this time, we will be moving into a closed session to deliberate on the petition and closed session matters. Once closed session is complete, the CBA meeting will adjourn for the day and allow members to participate in outreach events. The CBA meeting will reconvene tomorrow, September 19 at 9 a.m. to conduct the Committee on Professional Conduct and the CBA meeting itself. All right. So thank you again, Your Honor, for being here.